I'll let you fire up. I will introduce both of them because they're going to roll. They're both with the Go Green Initiative, and they're going to roll right into their presentations together. So I'll introduce them. Mallory McGough is the Project and Operations Manager for the Go Green Initiative, where she guides school districts across the Bay Area to reduce waste and conserve natural resources. Prior to her current role, she led field research for an environmental foundation in the Philippines and worked in public education and program administration. She has a background in sociology and holds a master's degree in environmental policy and practice. Her colleague Rahul Maharaj is a program coordinator also of the Go Green Initiative, supporting SB 1383 compliance in Bay Area schools. He works directly with school administrators, teachers, custodians, and students as they prevent and reduce waste at school. Rahul was formerly a student at a school district, and he now serves with the Go Green Initiatives and strives to make a difference in the communities he grew up in. Real quickly, we're going to save questions till the end, which just to make sure that all of our speakers get through. So hang on to those questions, text them to me in the app, and please, Mallory and Rahul.
It's under view.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Mallory McGough, and I'm here with my colleague Rahul Maharaj, representing the Go Green Initiative, which is a nonprofit organization based here in the Bay Area and working across the country. Rahul and I work directly with school districts here in the Bay Area, helping them achieve compliance with SB 1383 and beyond. And today we're happy to share with you a little bit about our organization's model for success with that and making sure school districts have what they need and are able to implement this program year over year. So to set the scene for this a little bit, some of the high points that we'll be talking about today. First is that from our viewpoint, and I think this might be an experience of many people in the room today, is that SB 1383 compliance is not a destination that we arrive at and the work is done, but it's a program that needs consistent maintenance over time and systems in place for success. I'll be talking about how the district administration really needs to be involved in this to lead and centralize this work so that it happens across each facility and happens year over year. And Rahul will be covering how school teams, school green teams, can form the social infrastructure for success with this and implement this program at their school campus in a way that meets the unique needs of their school community. Lastly, we'll be talking about how partner organizations can serve a key role in facilitating the needs of school districts and helping them optimize results. And at the end of our presentation, we're happy to share a toolkit of all the resources that we use on a regular basis that are customizable and you guys can take home and make your own. So I want to start by talking a little bit about the big picture here. As many of us know, school districts are subject to compliance with SB 1383, AB 841, 1826, and 827. And while they are subject to compliance, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the capacity to prioritize compliance work. Normally, this is not going to be any individual's job in the school district to make sure that this work is happening and all of their facilities and departments are in compliance. So without some additional support, this is work that often falls through the cracks. Full compliance with these laws would require schools not only to recycle and compost, recover and donate edible food, but also to educate their staff and students about how to do this properly. We can think about all the needs that a school district might have in compliance and how those needs touch every department and facility. Full compliance with SB 1383 might require changes to a school district's waste hauling contract, its containers and equipment, job descriptions, policy, food handling procedures, and more. And with all this, we can begin to see the need for oversight at the highest level in the district and the need for that collaboration. On this slide, we can see a breakdown of some of the school district's need for compliance. We can think of all of their needs as needs for physical and operational infrastructure, as well as needs for social infrastructure. These things on the operational infrastructure side include things like policy and programs. The school district may need to start a recycling and organics program or a food recovery program. It may need to make changes to its school board policy. The district may need to purchase equipment or make changes to their training or contracts. And finally, they're going to need systems in place for monitoring and evaluation over time. These things on the left-hand side of the screen typically can only be handled by senior administrators in the district. Individual principals, teachers, custodians are normally not able to make changes to these types of things, and certainly that would be outside of their job responsibilities. And at the end of the day, even if we have all of that physical and operational infrastructure in place, success with SB 1383 comes down to people. People who are sorting their waste properly or not, preventing contamination or not, using the food share table or not. So really social infrastructure, what you see on the right-hand side of the screen, is really going to make or break success. And the three pillars that we see as really crucial to that social infrastructure are senior leaders convening at the top, and that's what I will be talking about for the rest of my presentation. School green teams formalized at each school site, and strong connections with partner organizations, such as the hauler, city management, local agencies, and vendors. So zooming in on that first pillar of the social infrastructure, which was those senior leaders, we call this team of senior leaders in the district convening regularly the district office green team. And I'm going to talk about why it's so important to form a team like that is convening regularly. Folks in the district office are going to be able to standardize equipment, training, programs. They're going to be able to centralize purchasing and do all of these logistical things. But also, they're going to be able to achieve accountability and buy-in from the rest of the staff in the district. They're going to be the folks that are able to set expectations and make sure that all facilities are participating in this year over year. And this helps with that success across each facility each school year. On this slide, you can see the members that we normally recommend to be part of that district office green team and some of the tasks or action items that they're involved in. But I want to take a step back and talk about how we get to forming this team in the first place. Normally, when we start working with a school district on their compliance effort, we start with the superintendent, and we meet with that person and cover the district's compliance needs as well as a plan for making it happen. And the first step in that is forming the district office green team. So we ask the superintendent to appoint members of their cabinet, normally the school business officer and assistant superintendent of instruction, to be the chairs of this team. Those two people are going to be able to make changes to the operations and programs of the school district. Then when we have those two people on board, we ask them to help us fill out the rest of the green team by appointing these senior leaders that you see on the right-hand side to the team. We're looking for representation from nutrition, HR, facilities and operations, purchasing, unions, student leaders, head custodians, and representatives from each school site. These are the folks that we need in the room communicating with each other to foresee obstacles that might come up along the way and align on things like the program rollout. And last is the role of the third-party consultant. That's us in our situation, could be others in other situations. And our role here is to provide the expertise specific to SB 1383 and waste reduction. That's not going to be a knowledge or a skill set that most of the people on the screen are going to arrive in the room. with that knowledge and understanding about how their district may or may not be in compliance and what they need to get there. So it's our role to provide that training, that specific knowledge, and make tools that facilitate the action items for each person on this screen. So overall, we formed the district office green team so that we have all these people in the room talking to each other on a regular basis. We need them to align on things like the program implementation, timeline, and goals. We need them to align on managing and standardizing this program so that it's the same across facilities and the expectations are the same for everyone. And we need them to align on achieving accountability from the rest of the district staff. And this is really going to be a key one for us as a third-party organization. We definitely don't see this as our role to achieve buy-in from the rest of the school district. And we want all the staff in the school district to be hearing directly from their superiors and have the call coming from inside the house that this is an expectation and a priority. So now moving on to elaborate a little bit more on our role as a third party. So the district office staff sets the expectations for their school district, and we provide that training. So we provide training to multiple stakeholder groups within the district. That includes all the school green teams, and we'll elaborate on that later, as well as custodians. We're pulled into meetings with principals by the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction to provide key messages. We also work to facilitate connections for the district, internally and externally, and I will elaborate on that in the next slide. And we work to facilitate progress. We serve as the project manager for this compliance work so that we're able to hold that space for the district, make sure that this is work that gets on everyone's calendar, there's time for that to be prioritized, and that we're monitoring and assigning tasks and tracking the outcomes of that. So I want to talk a little bit about facilitating connections for the district. And the first item there is why. And really the why here is that these connections internally and externally will facilitate success year over year. SB 1383 is, compliance with SB 1383 is a living organism. It changes over time. School district staff are going to change over time. Your hauling contract, service needs, food packaging are things that are going to change year to year. And the district is going to need to know who to contact to get answers to all of your questions as those things change, as well as have mutual expectations internally that hold them accountable. So some of our goals with building internal connections, you'll see on the left-hand side, are to create year-over-year predictability. Some of the ways we do this are to have annual green team training that the district office requires for each school. And have the district office provide an annual report to school boards to update them yearly on the outcomes and the needs for this program. A second goal with internal connections is creating responsibility and accountability. We want to track the progress of each facility toward each milestone, and we want to have regular check-ins with the school green teams. And third, we want to have communication and cross-pollination between those school green teams and between departments. And the goal here is so that people aren't siloed and they have people to reach out to share best practices and approach challenges and celebrate success. Externally, the goal is similar, right? Folks are going to have issues as service needs change, food packaging changes, and other things. So they're going to need a connection with their hauler. The district office is going to need to know who to call at their hauler. Facilities and operations should be connected to someone there so they can get feedback on contamination rates, updates on sorting requirements as those change. They're going to need a contact with their city management. There's a lot of opportunity there for mutual benefit. Normally our city management also has goals for SB 1383 compliance, so they can connect on that, shared opportunities for community outreach, The city management can also be a thought partner for things like hauling service needs, RFPs, that kind of thing. And third, we'll want the district connected to their vendors and local agencies for other supports they may need along the way. So now I want to transition into talking about some of the more practical, tactical tools for sustaining success over time. And the first is waste tracking. One of our main roles with our school districts that we serve here in the Bay has been helping them establish a procedure and protocol for tracking all of their waste streams at all of their facilities. And the goal here is to establish trends and track reduction success. In addition to documenting compliance and measuring changes to emissions, there's some practical applications to this as well, and the district is going to be interested in this because it provides an opportunity to save money on hauling service. We've had schools who have been able to identify overages in their hauling service and reduce that and save money. We have a thing linked here and on our resources that shows a school that was able to save over $300 a month by doing that. But also, and I think this is the big one, it provides a feedback loop for all of those engaged in the work that can really facilitate ongoing engagement. When folks can see that all of the energy and time and money they're putting into this is having an impact and we are achieving a reduction, that's something that motivates people to continue to contribute to it. On the left-hand side of the screen is some real data from a school in Pleasanton Unified School District that was able to document about a 33% reduction in its landfill waste for the course of one calendar year. That's the red trend line at the top. And they wouldn't have been able to verify that they had this reduction or maybe even know about it if they hadn't been tracking. And now it's something they can share on their website, social media. The district can share it between schools to create that friendly competition and show impact. And it's also a great return on investment for any funders who may be involved in this work as well. Some other systems for maintaining success with this year over year. The first is regular communication. And that's not just regular communication between those district administrators and the district office green team. It's regular communication from those senior administrators to their school teams. We don't want the school teams to just be hearing from us as a third party. We want them hearing directly from their superiors within their organization. So we create tools for them, such as the one seen on the top right of the screen here. Communications plan that those district leaders can copy and paste email messages directly from, put those into their regular communications with their principals, their custodial supervisors, etc. We also want the school district regularly communicating out into its broader school community. We have tools for this on our resource toolkit as well. Things like language for sustainability web pages and school board reports. The second system I want to go over briefly is to establish regular site visits and a tracking mechanism. And by that I mean we want people regularly visiting the schools in person to get eyes on the bins, take a look inside, see the contamination rates, get some eyes on the food share table, and sit down with the green team and hear what's working for them and where they need some support. And while our team does that on a regular basis, we want the district office doing that as well. So we encourage the facilities team to visit schools on a regular basis, to do contamination check-ins, take a look in the bins, and provide feedback on what contamination they're seeing directly to the schools teams. As well as the entire district office green team, to visit each school team at least on an annual basis, to sit down with them and learn their feedback. They can also provide that feedback directly to their school board in the annual school board report. And lastly, the last mechanism I want to talk about here quickly, and this will bridge into our next presentation, is establishing a formalized school site green team. And this should be an expectation set by the district. We want the district office to communicate to each school that it is an expectation that they create a team formalize it by submitting all the names of the members of the team, and conduct an annual training, and we facilitate that training. And these schools teams create that social infrastructure needed on the ground level to customize this to meet the needs of their school community. And the district can also be a part of building that culture around this by having district-wide challenges and celebrations related to this. And we have resources for that on our toolkit that will be shared at the end of Rahul's presentation. And we hope you'll take those, make them your own, and use those however they suit you. So now we will turn it over to Rahul to talk about how this is implemented at the school site level. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Like mentioned before, my name is Rahul Maraj. I'm a program coordinator at the Go Green Initiative. And today I'll be going over school site green teams and how staff and students work together to implement their district-wide compliance on their campus. So to begin with, who should be on our school green teams? So our green teams are composed of a principal, one teacher, custodian, and students. We require at least one of each, but as we know, the more the merrier, and makes everyone's lives easier. But the requirement is one, just to get the team started. So the head of the team is the administrator. They are expected to be the leader on campus, and their team setting regular meetings and convening with the team to create goals and expectations for that year. The administrator is also, like I said, the lead, so they're also the person that reestablishes the team year after year, and are usually the go-to contact for a lot of the district team and Go Green Initiative. Next, we have our teacher, who is in the forefront of campus engagement. They bring a unique insight as far as what goes on in the classroom, what kind of waste is produced there. So that way they could work with the green team to create some continuity throughout each classroom through the campus. The other part of the teacher's responsibility is also creating environmental literacy. That is the broader team's job as well, but again, the teachers have such an impact with the students and on campus itself, bringing that perspective and seeing what would work with spreading it out to the students and seeing what works and what doesn't. Next, we have our custodian. Our custodian brings really unique feedback to the team itself. To begin with contamination rates, which Mallory went over a little bit. They're the ones that deal with all the waste streams and see firsthand how the bins are doing, how the program is being implemented, and how the 3-bin system is working on campus. Along with that, the custodian brings a lot of feedback regarding the bin placements around campus, equipments, and hauling input. And lastly, we have our student, one of the most important members since they're there to represent their fellow peers. Students are also the ones who are, at the end of the day, sorting the waste themselves. So having their perspective is very important. They're the ones that are talking to their peers and seeing what's working and what's not working during lunch. We also use the green team to create some student leadership opportunities on campus, which could be things like bin monitoring, creating waste sorting activities on campus, and things like that. Next, I'll kind of dive into the roles and responsibilities of the school site green team in general. The 3 main things that we kind of focus on is to assess and coordinate, track data, and educate and train the campus. They assess the campus for proper bins, signs, equipment, coordinate with the district team on purchasing, changes to hauling services, waste tracking, and reporting their progress either back to Go Green Initiative or the district, and coordinating the program implementation on their campus, since they're the ones that are fronting it and the district and Go Green are there to support. Next, like Mallory kind of had mentioned, is collecting waste data regularly, and green teams do this weekly with our Go Green Initiative's waste tracking app that we made in-house. And lastly, and maybe the most important, is educating and training the campus. After the green team is trained by a Go Green Initiative representative, it's their job then to turn around and educate the campus on bin placement, proper sorting, and preventing contamination. So, green team formation. Green team formation starts at the district level. We provide communication plans to the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning that directs administrators to form green teams. And once that communication is sent out, along with Go Green initiatives, administrators then form their teams on their campus. Like I mentioned, at least one teacher, custodian, and student. Once that's done, they're told to fill out our appointment letter and get that back to us. Our appointment letters we find very important as well. First, to keep records of which schools are done, who's on the team, and also to create easily accessible records of the teams in the past. Like mentioned before, there's a lot of turnover in schools and administrators, so it's good to know when there's new administrators come in, they know who was on the green team the previous year, what teachers they can reach out to, what custodians, or even students. Now I'm going to kind of dive into the school green team training itself. And the training is required by the district, facilitated by Go Green at the start of every school year, and must have all adult members present. In the training, we go over laws and policies, the 3-bin system, and data collection. Prevalent to California, SB 1383 is one of our main focuses right now. Recycling, organics, food recovery, and educating the campus. We also like to look at relevant school board or city policies that may affect the district in some way. Next, the 3-bin system. Kind of dive into why waste matters and why it's a climate issue. A lot of people don't know this, and many teams that I've even trained only think about plastic bottles and things like that, and don't really see waste as big of an issue as it should be. With the 3-bin system comes things like location-specific sorting rules, since things can be different based on zip code or even your hauler. Preventing contamination through educating the campus community is a big role, and that's what we're teaching the 3-bin system about, so we're able to implement it throughout the campus. And lastly, data collection. So what is waste tracking, how to use our waste tracking app, measuring the importance of measuring the results and seeing the tangible differences the schools are making. And also with our waste tracking is tied our funding for the school green teams, and that goes out to green teams directly on campus, and they can use that for whatever they want, be grabbers, posters, vests, anything to help with their implementation or activities on campus. So next couple slides, I'm going to show you guys some training content that we use in our annual green team training. I won't get too much into specifics about what exactly that we're preaching, because I'm sure a lot of you already know. But to begin, like I mentioned, is a 3-bin system, right? Blue for recycling, green for compost, and gray and black for landfill. It's really important to emphasize the colors as well, since they're standardized under state law, and having them in proximity is also required. With our work with the district and the waste haulers within the summer and through the year, we're able to identify the specific items that each school site uses, cafeterias. That way, we're able to properly educate the green teams on how to properly dispose them. So we're not getting any random items that they're just unaware of and are just throwing it away in the wrong bins. And lastly, like I mentioned, the haulers. A lot of times communication with the haulers is really important. We work with them on the district level, but also it's important to know what items are going out through each campus in case anything's different, since some waste haulers take certain items, some don't. Next is our food recovery or food share table, and that's we direct to be at any lunch area where students can return unopened food items from your school or from their school lunch. And we like to emphasize that while stopping and limiting food waste is important, it's also important to ensure that all students have something to eat, and any excess food is given to anyone in need. And we work extensively also with the district to make sure that we have established the proper equipment and management of the food after it's done with the lunchtime and whatever the students don't take. Any guidelines about food recovery. So we're able to basically educate the green team exactly what their district wants. And if their district doesn't have anything, Go Green Initiative helps them establish those things. And like I mentioned a couple times, the word contamination, like many of us know, preventing contamination is one of the most important things while training our teams, especially since we do focus heavily on the 3-bin system. Because if there's contamination, a lot of these batches are thrown directly into the landfill, and the 3-bin system and the education about sorting properly is kind of wasted. Here's like examples of pictures from Pleasanton Unified School District. In our trainings, we like to use pictures that are from the districts themselves, showing them basically all the food items that are commonly thrown in the wrong bin and things like that. Then also they're able to recognize a lot of the items in their cafeteria and on their school campus. But at the end of the day, we like to make sure we focus that contamination and preventing it is the green team's role. And not specifically the custodians, which a lot of people in green teams kind of fall back on. We always teach to never touch or resort any type of waste. If there's over 10% contamination in the bins, we tell custodial staff to throw all of it in the landfill, since it can't be processed properly in a lot of the facilities. Next, like Mallory had talked about a little bit, our Google site and resource hubs. We create Google sites customized for each school district. Here we like to include a lot of resources for green teams. That could include additional training, city resources, links for our training, our appointment letter. We want to create a one-stop shop for all of our schools, so that way they're not extensively asking for a lot of things, or if we're not able to get back to them in time, there's always a place that they can go and find. And next, I'll get into our waste tracking process. Like Mallory had mentioned, it's we think one of the most important things we do for a couple of reasons. First, I'll just show the screenshots on the right-hand side there. And those are from our app, and for one of our schools in Pleasanton Unified School District. As you can see, we have the landfill, recycling, and compost labeled out there, and they come with dates. And those dates are the day before the bins and dumpsters are picked up by the haulers. So green teams are prompted to go out to their bins and dumpsters, wherever they are on campus, look into them, and just fill out the percentage that they're full. So 0, 25, 50, 75, 100. All green team members have access to this app, including supervised students, and each adult member can create their own account for their school as well. We work extensively with the district and waste hauler to make sure that the whole schedule is preloaded, so the schools and green teams don't have anything to worry about, and we try to make it as easy and accessible as we can for them. Along with, like Mallory was saying, the tangible difference that we can see and measure out for schools, it also lets us evaluate our hauling needs. Like Mallory had mentioned as well, we've had a lot of schools in the past that have identified excess services, and we've been able to cut down through the district and school sites and save them a lot of money. And like I mentioned before, our model includes funding for data tracking participation. And so our funding is given out 3 times a year for consistent waste tracking. And like I said, it can be used for anything. It's sent directly to the school administrators into a school account, and the green team may use it for any of their needs. That was the previous one was the last slide for training content. And now I'll kind of shift into coordination between the district and school site green teams. Go Green Initiative creates progress trackers, timelines to create goals and expectations for the school year. We create a communication plan that guides regular messages from ed services to administrators. And we promote regular site visits and check-ins, which I think is very important for the district members to be able to go to campus and see the struggles and challenges and successes that each school site is facing. That way, we're able to go back and either share that or reflect and see how we can help individual school sites. So with our coordination, we hope to create some predictability. The coordination being our Google sites, where districts and schools have all their timelines, goals, training material, and resources in one place. And like I said, we hope that creates some predictability. More specifically, the project timeline and tracking tool. And that maps out the full school year's goals, milestones, and expectations. And all school green teams and district members have access to all of this. That way, any member is able to see exactly what goals are coming up, any expectations, any updates from the district as well. And with all of that, at the end of the day, we want some accountability. That's how everything gets done at the end of the day. Like I mentioned, the tracker and timeline, it shows each school's progress towards the milestone and highlights the schools needing support. So in our tracker, we have all the schools listed out for the school district, and things like signing up for training, completing the appointment letter, waste tracking, any goals or expectations that the district created are all there, and individual schools, and we can track individual schools as we go throughout. And this is maintained and updated regularly by Go Green Initiative representatives, and then shared to district members during check-ins. And then on the other side is our communication plan that are provided to educational services. Here we just create template and sample messages at the beginning of each year, kind of reflective of the goals and milestones that we created as well. With this, we include target dates, from who the message should be sent from and to who. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for our district members as well, since they also have a lot going on. This way, they have an expectation of when they should be sending messages, when they should be reaching out as well. And lastly, I'll kind of go into Go Green Initiative, facilitating partnerships and action. One second. So we find it very important to collaborate and find opportunities outside of the campus as well in school districts, communities. One of the key things with the city is taking into part of their climate action plan or any policies, amplify any messages that they have that need to go out to school districts. We're here to kind of serve also as an avenue between the two, creating pathways and opportunities for all of them. Also, we're able to look for student leadership opportunities. We've had school districts in the past, students from school districts in the past work with the city on giving feedback regarding climate action plan, tabling events, etc. If you look at the bottom left, that is a group of our local leaders in Pleasanton, tabling at Pleasanton's Make a Difference Festival, where they got to talk to a lot of the community members and get feedback about what's going on outside of the campus as well. Next, communication and relationships with our school district's hauler have enabled our students to learn so much more through school visits, site tours, and guest speeches. This has opened up a lot of eyes for students who were able to go on the tour to see actually the amount of waste that is dealt with daily. We see things in our house, in our school, but at these facilities, there's tons of waste, and a lot of times you don't understand until you see it in person. On the bottom right there is some of our student leaders helping host tours at Pleasanton's Material Recovery Facility, or MRF. There we had groups of the community and students go through the MRF and learn more about what they do and how they separate their waste and where those waste streams go. And lastly, cross-pollination between school sites. We started to create communication between all campus green teams in the district, and that's opened green teams to a lot more successful ideas and implementations. We like to share our best practices through webinars, blogs, our district site, the Google sites, and kind of connect these schools to be able to see what's working for them and see maybe, if they could take things from other campuses and apply it to their own. And also, this cross-pollination between schools has created a lot of student leadership, which we are really proud of. One of the things that we try to emphasize is giving students a platform to be able to do and say, what they want, ask questions when they can. But this connection has created a ton of cool things. One of them being in the top right there, a group of our local leaders from Pleasanton as well conducted educational visits to their local elementary schools. They were able to put together presentations surrounding waste sorting, why waste is an issue. They created waste sorting games to play and engage the students there, which was really successful, and they love doing, and all I hear about is them wanting to do more of it next year. So, those are the things we try and find that our students like doing, and trying to connect everybody through that. Okay, so as our time wraps up, I'd like to transition to some key takeaways from our presentation. First, I just want to acknowledge and emphasize that we as an organization are also still learning. Every school and every school district is different. We're able to take away things from each one and apply them to others. However, at the end of the day, we hope to support school districts with what they need and create like an institutionalized system that's there even after we're not there. And what we've learned is that we need districts to be heavily involved in centralizing and maintaining accountability if we want that success. At Go Green Initiative, we create those internal pathways for the district, but we want the districts to take ownership of them at the end of the day. Our role is to provide the tools and resources to help with that, and learn as we go and apply things and teach other schools the best practices that we can. With that in mind, I'd like to share all the resources that Malia mentioned. That QR code will prompt you to our resource hub and our Green Team site. There, all of the screenshots that you saw, there are templates of those on that website that are free to use and look at. Next to that is Mallory and I's contact information in case anybody wants to connect or bounce ideas. And to end it, I just want to take the time and thank all of you guys for everything you guys do in your community. I'm up here speaking, but I know you guys are also making a difference, so I want to thank you guys for being here and listening. And with that, thank you.